Welcome to today's video. Today we're going to work on writing equations in slope-intercept form. However, instead of looking at it from a graph, we're going to be given 2 points. We're going to show this mastery by scoring at least 80% on an exit ticket in class. Hopefully you have the half sheet of notes in front of you. If you don't, that's fine. Just take out a sheet of paper and you can continue working on there. If we look at our notes, the big thing we want to talk about is still using point-slope formula. Again, if you forget, it'll be posted throughout the entire unit in the front of the classroom up until your test day. But get familiar with the formula. Make sure you understand how to use it and when to use it. Y and X are still just our variables. X1 and Y1 are our points, and M, as always, is still our slope. Now, our first step when we have given 2 points is we need to find the slope. This goes back to the very first day of the unit. We want to use y1 minus y2 or y2 minus y1. Either way you subtract, you'll still get the same. Just make sure if you start with y2, you start with x2 on the bottom. If you start with y1, you can start with x1 on the bottom. So, if we look at our first example, the first thing I want to do is solve for slope. I'm going to label my points x1, y1, x2, and y2. So I'm going to take negative 2 minus 4 and 3 minus 6. Negative 2 minus 4 gives me a negative 6. 3 minus 6 gives me a negative 3. Since this can be simplified, I am going to simplify it, and my slope is a positive 2. So now that I have my slope, I can use my point slope formula, which is y minus y1 equals m, and in parentheses, x minus x1. I'm going to use my x1 and my y1 from what I labeled above. So I'm going to have y minus negative 2 is equal to 2, that's my slope that I just found, x minus 3. Well, two negatives make a positive, so I now have y plus 2 equals 2, x minus 3. I'm going to distribute. We're going to have y plus 2 equals 2x minus 6. From here, I'm going to subtract 2 on both sides, and I now get y equals 2x minus 8. I'm now in slope-intercept form with 2 being my slope and negative 8 being my b. So this is my final answer in slope-intercept form. If we look at the second example, again, I'm going to start by labeling my points, x1, y1, x2, and y2. So to find my slope, and I'll do this one in a different color so not to be confused, we get 3 minus 4 over negative 5 minus 0. Well, 3 minus 4 is negative 1. Negative 5 minus 0 is negative 5. And we know that a negative divided by a negative gives us a positive. So my slope is positive 1/5. From here, we're going to use our point slope formula. So y minus 3 equals 1/5 times x minus negative 5. Well, if I simplify, I have a negative times a negative, so I'm going to turn that into x plus 5. Now I want to distribute my slope. I have y minus 3 equals 1/5 x plus 1 times 5 is 5. 5 divided by 5 is 1. I'm going to add 3 on both sides, and I am left with y equals 1/5 x plus 4. Again, we have our m, our slope, and we have our b, our y-intercept. We are in slope-intercept form, so that is our correct answer. If we look at example 3, again, label your points, x1, y1, x2, and y2. If I find my slope, or my m, we're going to have 8 minus 8 and negative 4 minus 3. Well, I end up with 0 over negative 7, and this tells me it's okay, so I have a slope of 0. If we think back to Hoy Vux, Hoy tells me we have a 0 slope. It also tells me it is a y equals equation. So my equation, I don't even have to put it into point slope form, is whatever my y value is. Well, my y value equals 8, so my equation is y equals 8. If you were to put it in point slope form, you would still get the same answer with a little bit more work. If you're not confident in remembering the Hoy-Vux, please feel free to do that. Now, our final example. We have x1, y1, x2, and y2. So again, for slope or my m value, I'm going to take -3 minus -7, and I'm going to take 4 minus 4. Well, that gives me +4 over 0, which is the same thing as no. So I have an undefined slope. Just because we have an undefined slope doesn't mean that we can't have an equation. If we talk about Vux, we have an undefined slope and an x equals equation. So if I look, both my x's are the same, so x is going to equal +4. If you need to rewatch any part of this video, please feel free to do so. If not, move on to the practice problems, and I look forward to seeing you in class.